Good morning. Just seeing if anyone in the chambers can hear me.
We can hear you, Jackie.
Awesome. Thanks, Dylan.
So I think Mike can do first. What's the countdown then? Okay. Are we all here on this one? Okay, so we'll start the Community Services Committee meeting here in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good morning and welcome everybody to the City of Grande Prairie Committee meetings this morning after our council break. We'll start off with our Community Services Committee meeting and we'll start off with our Director's Service Update report, please.
Thank you, Chair. In the Community Knowledge Campus area, we had under facility usage, the drop-in activities started last week with 1 lane for swimming, gym and field house. Added public skate, drop-in figure skating, adult shinny, and stick and puck. For the week of the 19th to the 23rd of July, there were 1,323 clients pre-booked for the splash and play time. Recruitment is underway wide for the lifeguards and arena attendants, guest services, fitness and weight room attendants. In terms of the outdoor pool, now offering drop-in swim times while strongly encouraging pre-booking. Due to the inclement weather, the first week of the drop-in services had lower than normal usage, but the warmer temperatures, the usage increased significantly. The last 3 weekends, there was 90%, 75 and 85% of capacity, so being used quite well. Under events and entertainment, Revolution Place, the board and glass system has encountered delays in production. The installation of the new system will be postponed to 2022 off-season. We hosted the Street Performers Festival, the annual event in the parking lot on the 23rd to the 25th of July. The event was a success and the venue will be used in the future to host a new kids version of the show at the H.A. Rice Plaza. In MCC, Alberta Health Service will be decommissioning the immunization clinic in the Teresa Sargent Hall at the Montrose Cultural Centre on August 9th. They will be moving all immunizations back to the health clinic. In the facilities area, animal shelter, the project is underway with materials ordered and geotechnical report completed on July 20th. CKC tunnel, preliminary site grading is nearing completion. And the construction is underway under the Parks Revy Yard Shop. Under Fleet, it's business as usual. Sports, development, wellness, and culture. Forbes Homestead is scheduled to open in early August. Afternoon teas are scheduled for August 11th and 12th, and the 18th and 19th. Visitors will also have an opportunity to tour through the historical Reverend Forbes Homestead, Grande Prairie's oldest house, and first hospital. Heritage Day celebrations included live heritage demonstrations and performances in the Heritage Village, a free watercolor painting class offered by the Centre for Creative Arts at the Grande Prairie Museum, a letter writing activity in the schoolhouse, and a virtual scavenger hunt. Visitors to Muskosipi Park enjoyed musical performance on the amphitheater stage, a live art contest featuring local artists, and local food trucks that served Heritage Day themed dishes. Under transit, they'll be presenting GPRC administration and the current student union a UPass PowerPoint and Q&A in the fall. The on-demand RFP has been released with a submission deadline date of August the 17th. That's all I have currently, Chair.
Okay, thanks for that, Mr. Harvard. Any questions for on the director update? Councillor Bressie.
Great, thank you. Maybe don't have an answer today, but hoping we could get at our next committee meeting. Now that the vaccination clinic's winding up, could we just get a final estimated cost of what that added onto the municipality's budget when it's all wrapped up?
See a head nod from Mr. Harvard, so we'll get that for next meeting for you.
Yes.
Councillor O'Toole.
Yeah, I was wondering if we could get a total of all the inoculations that took place in that facility as well.
Okay. So sounds like I see nods from administration, so we'll have that update next time. Any other questions for Mr. Harvard? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to our next item on our agenda, please. Item 3.2, our asset transfer request. And I'll look to Ms. Casulet to introduce this one, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Grande Prairie Football Association wishes to gift ownership of the media tower, bleachers, lights, and scoreboard, at Legion Field to the City of Grande Prairie. The current land ownership is split between the City and the Grande Prairie Public School Division, and the school division is willing to explore an occupancy agreement for the amenities located on the public school division land. There's also a sponsorship agreement in place for the score clock until October of this year, which the city would honor should the asset transfer be approved. The city currently owns the change room structures, performs maintenance and repairs for those amenities, and pays the utilities for the site. These expenses are already captured in the operating budget. Capital improvements are recommended for the media tower and site amenities, which are estimated to cost approximately $120,000. And this will be submitted as a capital project request for 2022 budget deliberations if the asset transfer is approved. Site improvements could be addressed over multiple years. The annual maintenance and repairs for the media tower are estimated to add approximately $8,000 in expenses to the corporate facility management operating budget going forward. The Grande Prairie Football Association does not have the resources to maintain the site and would like to gift ownership of the assets to the city. This is the only certified track and field facility in the Northwest region, and full use of this amenity would enhance the city's ability to attract large-scale events and promote sport tourism across the region. Administration recommends that committee recommend council approve the association's request to transfer the assets mentioned above. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that, Ms. Casulet. Any questions on the report? Councillor Bressie.
Great, thank you. Just a question about the Football Association. So would the idea be if they transferred this to the city that they'd start paying some sort of rent for their use of the buildings, or would they continue to use it with free of charge? Just what would that financial arrangement be?
Thank you. Through the chair. The facilities have been added to the scores agreement, so there is also through the fees and charges bylaw rental rates set for that. So depending on the type of use for the site, there may be charges for use.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Any further questions on this one? Oh, seeing a Councillor Bressie.
Happy to move the committee recommend council approve the request from the Grande Prairie Football Association to transfer assets at Legion Field to the City of Grande Prairie.
Okay, thanks for that, Councillor Bressie. So we'll over to our e-scribes. Hopefully they're all working this morning, and we'll vote. Please vote. Mayor Clayton, are you still on the line?
I am
How do you vote?
in favor.
And that carries. Thanks for that. So we'll move on to item 3.3, our revised transit routes. And back to Mr. Harvard, please.
Thank you, Chair. Committee has had the report and an opportunity to review. I will go over some of the highlights and certainly answer questions afterwards. The opening of the regional hospital, combined with changing dynamics of transit delivery, presented an opportunity to make some long overdue changes in transit. The new strategy includes 3 different methods of service delivery: fixed routes using the larger conventional buses, fixed routes using the smaller community buses, and on-demand service also using the smaller buses. The design presented today ensures that every area currently receiving transit will continue to have access to transit using one of the methods described. In addition, we are extending the reach of transit to areas currently not served by leveraging the benefits of the on-demand service. Some of the areas you'll see in the report as well. The benefits of this plan are certainly the increased community connectivity. having a central hub, so all routes now will transfer downtown at Town Center Mall. Service to the new hospital, and of course introducing on-demand service. Some of the other highlights are a shopper shuttle route, which connects all the major shopping areas from downtown to the west side. Two-way service along the busy shopping corridor of 104th Avenue. Currently, there's just a one-way service there. Introduction of service along 100th Street between Prairie Mall and Town Center Mall in both directions. And of course, service to the new regional hospital. Now, the best time to make any major route changes is when ridership is at its lowest so that you can inconvenience the least number of people. We are unfortunately past that point as a result of the RFP coming out and some of the things that are the technical issues with regards to that RFP. The redesign is fully dependent on the implementation of the on-demand piece. So although the report will make the reference about potentially the next best time to implement would be Christmas, or the lowest time for ridership, and again, inconvenience the least amount of people, a lot of that will be dependent on the timing of the RFP proponent and when they can implement the on-demand service, as this is a bit more trickier than just a straight on-demand because it also includes an upgrade, a potential upgrade for our paratransit service software. The implementation of the redesign will be accomplished using the existing budget. The report notes the risks and alternatives that should be considered. Administration recommends that the committee approve the routes and schedules as presented.
Okay. Thanks for that, Mr. Harvard. Any questions? Mr. Harvard. Councillor Bressie and then Councillor Thiessen, please.
Great, thank you. My apologies if I just missed it in the packet, but I can't find the schedules for this. Where would I find frequency and times for each route?
Through the chair. The schedules, I brought them with me, and unfortunately for some reason I cannot bring them up, but I can quickly go over them. Every route will have a 60-minute base frequency, starting from 6 a.m. till 9:30 p.m. The shuttle route, which is the shopper shuttle, it'll have a 30-minute frequency. That area is currently a 30-minute frequency all day long. That will remain in effect. There are 4 other routes that will have 30-minute frequency in peak hours. The maps that were included had made reference to the areas that each route will be covered. So routes 2, 5, 7, and 8 will have the peak service 30 minutes frequency.
Great, thank you. And does that 6 to 9:30, does that include Saturday and Sunday service, or is that just weekday?
Through the chair, that's just weekday. Our Saturday service, the hours of service will not change from what they are currently and what have been approved by transit. So there'll be Saturday from 8 a.m. till 9:30 p.m., Sunday from 9 a.m. till 6:30 p.m.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Bressie. Councillor Thiessen.
Thank you very much, Chair Platt. Thanks, Mr. Harvard, for the report. I was confused because I was trying to figure out what the timing is as far as building an efficient transit system. So not seeing the route schedule there was hard to gauge. On a consistent basis, you said it was a 1-hour loop for most of these routes, except during peak times where we'll have like half-hour ones. Are we going to run 2 buses in the opposite directions on that 1-hour loop? So, we increase the number of passenger pickup opportunities and we decrease the waiting times for people at the bus stops?
Through the chair. The current service that we offer has 60-minute frequency for each of the routes, again, except for Route 4 currently. The new redesign maintains that 60-minute frequency on each route, again, except for that chopper shuttle. All routes are actually 30-minute lengths, except for the Route 1, which is the long route that is a 1-hour trip, if you will, with 1-hour frequency.
Okay, so I guess maybe I'll just re-ask the question. So you start at point A and point B, and then you go in opposite directions. You cross and you come back to each other. Are we going to be running 2 buses on the same route in opposite directions?
Through the chair, sorry. No, none of the routes will have bi-directional. We've achieved bi-directional service on a number of routes by using routes in 2 different directions. But for instance, there are 2 routes that will service the 104th Avenue or 100th Street. Those are 2 different routes, so they'll provide 2-way service at different times of the day. So you won't get 2 buses that will necessarily be crossing each other at the same time. But if a person will not have to wait that full hour if they want to return, say, for instance, from Giant Tiger or something like that.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just look. I'll let my other council peers ask questions. I have a couple more though.
Thanks, Councillor Thiesse. Councillor Bressie.
Great, thank you. I've got a few questions about how these on-demand zones would work. So would they take, if you got an on-demand bus in one of these zones, would it take you to the nearest route? Would it take you to a central hub area? Just what's it look like if I'm catching a bus in Trader Ridge and trying to get to Eastlink Center, for example?
Through the chair. The premise of the on-demand service is to take someone from an on-demand stop to the nearest hub where they can transfer on to the regular routes.
Great. And then has there been any, just looking at it quickly, has there been any work done to make sure, how many transfers might somebody have to make between hubs? Is there, so if somebody wanted to get from Trader Ridge to Eastlink Center, for example, would they have to take an on-demand bus to a hub, go somewhere, make another transfer, and then all of a sudden they're making 2 transfers to get across town? Or how's that work with those hubs?
Through the chair. The number of transfers is wholly dependent on your start and end position. If you wanted to go to downtown from Trader Ridge, just one transfer obviously at Prairie Mall would suffice. If you wanted to go to Eastlink, then you would have to look at doing most likely 2 transfers to get there.
And then on-demand would also be, I'd assume you could also take it from a hub into the on-demand area as well?
Through the chair, yes, that's correct.
And what's the service standard that you're expecting in terms of how long you'd be waiting for that? How early you'd have to book an on-demand trip and how long you'd be waiting for that on-demand trip?
Through the chair. The anticipation is that the service that people utilizing the on-demand piece will be better, but no worse than what currently exists. So, for instance, in the countryside south area where ridership is not necessarily high, they currently enjoy a 1-hour frequency. We anticipate that will be much better than a 1-hour frequency. What we found in most communities that have on-demand, because it is, again, an on-demand service and people are able to book in real time, that they found that the wait times are usually in that, and again, all depending on how busy it is, but usually in that 30-minute, maybe even less. So that's it's something that we'll be working with the successful proponent as well, but that's something that we certainly asked and are looking forward to make sure that service is at least as good as what it is now. We are expecting it to be better.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Bressie. Back to Councillor Thiessen, please.
Sorry, I had to clear my throat there. Thanks, Chair Palat. Mr. Harvard, I've been banging the drum for this for 8 years now. I was just wondering if there's any thought put into creating an express bus system, one that just touches all the major centers on the perimeter of the city, such as Eastlink Center, GPRC, the Prairie Mall, and a downtown route, perhaps even the regional hospital thrown in there as well as part of the circuitous loop, just to transfer people if they want to hop on downtown and just go around. Maybe they want to make a stop at the Prairie Mall and then go for a swim. I just find that it's really hard for people on the north and east side of town with 1 or 2 transfers and 1-hour bus services in order to find themselves a safe way to the Eastlink Center for a swim, let's say. Was there any thought put into an express loop?
Through the chair. I won't call it an express route, but certainly Route 1 does exactly what you're saying. It hits all the major areas. Eastlink goes through Pinnacle, up through the shopping area, goes into the new hospital to to GPRC in downtown. So I guess to answer your question, yes, there is a route that does all of that. Again, it's a 1 hour frequency. We certainly had to balance our budget, requirements with our, service delivery models. So if we find in the future that we can find more efficiencies and increase the frequencies in some of these routes, certainly we will.
Okay, so just in regards to Route 1, like it still doesn't go to the north side, I've noticed. So it's pretty much a south side, west side sort of bus. So then, kids on the north side, east side still have to transfer. I was thinking more along like the perimeter roads, like maybe up 68th, down 108th, and around the bypass and stuff like that. So no thoughts of just doing like a circular loop, because it looks like this one goes through a bit of Mission Heights as well, so it does have its own pickups, like through residential areas. Is that true?
Through the chair, that's true. In putting any redesign together, there's so many factors we have to balance. We have to balance what is the current ridership that we have, what's a potential ridership that we can do, and costs. So we're always looking at trying to balance those three items. When we put these routes together, we could have done more if we had more to work with. But we, had this box of tools that we needed to utilize in order to get the best, what we feel is the best option. The wild card in all of this will be the on-demand service, how that takes off and how that allows us to potentially leverage it to provide more and better service to certain areas as well.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions for Mr. Harvard? Councillor Bressie?
Great, thank you. Just a couple more questions about the on-demand service. Is there, in terms of fees, is it the same price whether you use an on-demand or a traditional route under the system?
Through the chair, that is correct.
Great. And then last question with on-demand, was there any exploration done, or is there any exploration done of having on-demand, I guess, essentially take over or expand its offerings during non-peak times so that you've got a later night on a weekend where maybe routes aren't utilized and using on-demand instead of fixed routes where fixed routes usually are going? Or was there anything like that used to look at on-demand for different times, not just different geographic areas?
Through the chair, yes, absolutely. That's something that we've seen in other communities and something that we're looking at. We wanted, because we are doing on-demand at the same time we're doing a full route restructure, we felt that we needed to implement everything, see how it was working, make some adjustments if we needed to, and then look at things such as Sunday service. Can we deliver Sunday service using just on-demand or part or portion of on-demand as effectively or maybe even more effectively than we currently do? So absolutely, that's high on our radar, been on our viewpoint to look at, and as I said, once we sort of implement this, work out the bugs, we'll be looking to see what the ridership is in certain areas, and again, dates, etc., times, and making adjustments, and potentially looking at using on-demand, as you mentioned, for times and days that maybe ridership is less, but at the same time increasing the scope of services within our service.
Okay. Mayor Clayton, did you have a question?
Yeah, I did. Thanks, Chair Plott. Mr. Harvard, thanks for the report and the update. I was curious in regards to our timelines of consideration for these changes. There's some fairly significant changes here, and I think that, the new plan looks like it will service the city well. However, and we all know how long we've been working on this, so with the changes such as including on-demand and interworking with other routes, how long are we going to review this, and how long will we give it a test before we're like, okay, this worked, this didn't work? How nimble can we be with these changes?
Through the chair. Well, our entire staff will be working very diligently from day one on implementation, making sure that, again, as I mentioned, if there are certain areas that are not quite working out, we'll fix them right away. It's not something that will just be washing our hands with. Absolutely not. We'll be making sure that we follow through, review everything. If changes need to be made, we will make them as quickly as possible. And again, when in reviewing what the on-demand service is like, if we can extend that to certain areas, certain times, we'll be looking at that. So yeah, this is not a static operation. We'll continue to work and be very, as I mentioned, very nimble to work with this and any changes that are required.
Great, thanks for that, Mr. Harvard. If I can, Chair Plot, just in my opinion, it also works the other way. Certain routes may be extremely busy in certain times of the year and then not so busy at other times of the year. I would hate to see a route modified prior to cycle. So, I look forward to hearing updates from you and as it goes along. But I'm really looking forward to seeing, like you say, how it works on demand and then working with the interlinking of routes over time. So thanks for your report and looking forward for continued updates.
Okay, thanks, Mayor Clayton. We're going to go to Councillor Friesen and then back to Councillor Bressie, please.
Thank you, Chair Palat. Thanks, Mr. Harvard. I know how much work you've put into this over more than 3 years now, I think. So this is designed to, and I believe will increase access for our regular transit. You did mention, though, some potential considerations for accessible transit. Can you, and while I know that's not really the focus of this, can you comment on what may be coming there, please?
Through the chair, absolutely. Because the software that we're getting will be an upgrade of the current paratransit software with an on-demand portion. So it'll be a one software package that has both pieces of it. What are something that we have been looking at, and again, this is not day one, but certainly what we're looking at is what they call commingling, or utilizing a paratransit bus to also provide on-demand service. It only makes sense and very efficient if a paratransit bus is doing a door-to-door delivery and pickup, and they're driving by someone who's requested an on-demand service, that bus should be able to pick that person up. That's pretty much a standard now in a lot of communities. They're moving that way to that, what they're calling commingling of rides, and certainly that is on our radar to look at. Absolutely.
Thank you. And just to follow up for perhaps even both systems, so will that system integrate with our existing? Do we have an existing system for our regular transit, and will it integrate, or will this new system be for both types of transit? And is there the ability for the rider who's waiting to know actually where their bus is, and so they don't have to wait outside necessarily, but they can nip out of the house when it's 5 minutes away, or that sort of thing?
Through the chair, yes, the system that we're looking at, and again, this is in the RFP stage, so we won't know exactly what we're getting, but I'm very familiar with the options that are out there. It will handle both paratransit and the on-demand portion, and in terms of I guess in terms of what functionalities these programs have, it's pretty standard to have an app and a real-time app. So similar to our Where's My Ride app that we currently have for our fixed routes, we anticipate having an app that will show people both on the paratransit side and the on-demand side where their bus is. Paratransit riders will be able to book their own rides as well through the application or through a web-based computer program. So we're expecting functionality to increase significantly for everyone, as well as convenience.
Okay. Councillor Friesen, satisfied. Councillor Bressie.
Great, thank you. Just one question about that, and then I've got some about just public process. But will paratransit riders still have the option to call in for a dispatch as well, or will they have to use an app or computer?
Through the chair, no, absolutely. The dispatch will remain as an option for both on-demand and for the paratransit.
Awesome. And then just a question about public process. I know that we did our engage.cityofgp.com survey on this. Is the map we're looking at today and the routes we're talking about today, are they significantly different than what the public was invited to give feedback on, or are they pretty much the same as what was posted on the website a while ago?
Through the chair, I would say they're 98% the same. There were a few changes that were made, like I think 2 changes that were made as a result of some additional timings and also some input that we received from our transit operators. But other than that, yeah, this is what was posted for the community to review.
And has anything been done to make sure that our riders and people who rely on transit know that council's going to be talking about this and know that they've got kind of one last kick of the can to tell us any concerns they might have? So do they know that this might be coming to council shortly?
Through the chair, we certainly in our survey we mentioned that this would be coming. The survey was one of the options or one of the times that they could provide us with feedback to give us direction, if you will, on some of the changes. There was not necessarily any specific information provided in terms of when this would go to council, other than the fact that yes, it needed to go to council.
Thank you.
Councillor Thiessen.
Thank you very much, Chair Palat. Thanks again, Mr. Harvard. Just a quick question on the on-demand service. How many buses do we anticipate to be running during on-demand peak times? Or any time, I guess, yeah.
Through the chair. And again, this is something that we'll have to work with our vendors. They have the most experience in implementing on-demand services in a number of different size communities. So they'll have the best idea. My best guess, based on everything I've seen, is probably 2, one for the north side, one for the south side, but that may change.
Okay. No, thank you for that. And just, I see the recommendation committee recommend council approve the new transit routes and schedules as presented. When this comes forward to council, which I imagine it will after a vote today, those schedules will be included with the council package?
Through the chair, correct, absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that. On that note, anybody willing to entertain a motion today on this one? Councillor Thiessen.
Thank you very much, Chair Palat. I was actually not going to vote for this just because of the schedules not being included, but I got that reassurance from Mr. Harvard here just a moment ago. So I'd move that committee recommend council approve the new transit routes and schedules as presented. Speaking to this, I know this has been a long time coming. I know Mr. Harvard's put in a lot of work in transit as far as efficiency and its ability to pick up more of our patrons who require the service. Is going to need numerous tweaks throughout the year. So I appreciate the hard work that's gone into this, and that will continue to go into this to forever improve this system, so that hopefully we can increase our ridership and improve the lot for our kids, our teenagers, and anyone who requires transit service in the community. And I look forward to seeing those schedules at the next council meeting. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for that motion, Councillor Thiessen. Councillor Bressie.
Yeah, just to speak this, I'm really excited for this redesign for the reasons mentioned. I think there is strong potential that it will increase service, and also my biggest metric with transit when it comes to finances is to decrease that cost per trip we spend. Not necessarily decrease the whole transit budget, but get more efficient with every trip. And the best way to decrease that cost per trip is to make a better transit system so more people use it. And I think this is very likely to achieve that. I'm also excited about what this could mean for accessible transit. I think commingling, it makes sense from a logistical perspective, but also that's just so much more dignity for somebody that's using accessible transit to be able to use transit that everybody else is using and have a chance to meet their neighbor who got picked up because they're not segregated in a completely different transit world. So this really is an exciting step forward for us. So I just want to thank Mr. Harvard and all his team for the hard work that has gone into this.
Thanks for that, Councillor Bressie. Also want to thank administration for the work on this as well. I know, and going to Councillor Bressie's points, it will be nice to see a coexisting use of our apps that we've put a lot of money and time into in the past. And want to thank you for your efforts on this. I know it's probably easier said than done to figure out all the routes. So thanks for that. With that, we'll hop onto our e-scribe and please vote. Mayor Clayton, how do you vote?
In favor?
Thank you.
I've got a follow-up.
And that carries. Thanks for that. Councillor Bressie, you had a follow-up motion?
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to try a motion that I hope committee will support, and that is to direct administration to bring this to council no earlier than our August 23rd meeting, and to advertise the council will be discussing this prior to it coming to council. And just to speak to this from what I see of this, I do think that this is a really good redesign, but I also recognize that I don't use transit daily, and there are many people that do, and I think a lot of the people that use transit often don't have the strongest voices in our community, and I don't think they're tracking what council's doing very closely. So I think it's important that they know not just, hey, this will happen sometime in the future, but that they know specifically when this will be talked about by council, and that they've got an opportunity to come talk to us directly, because this really does fundamentally change day-to-day life for the people who rely on transit. This is a huge change for them. And I really think it's important that we're giving them a realistic opportunity to come talk directly to us. So I don't like the idea of it coming to council 5 days from now and nobody knows it's coming to council before we give final approval to it. So I hope the committee will support this motion.
Okay, thanks for that, Councillor Bressie. Any conversation or debate on the motion? I'm just going to enter to say I'm probably not going to be supporting the motion. I like the intent of it. I think if we start singling out specific projects, administration has a process that they go through when we do public consultation. So I don't know why we'd want to separate this one differently from that. So I'll give it a little bit more thought, but my gut is I probably wouldn't be supporting the motion. But any other conversation or debate on the motion? Okay, go ahead and close, Councillor Bressie.
Yeah, and thank you, Councillor Platt. And I understand what you're saying about why separate this out. And kind of the pitch I'd make for this is because other than policing, transportation and getting people around the community probably is the most important service that the city offers. And for those of us that use cars, it's if somebody said, hey, we're going to be closing the bypass, and you're going to have to drive this way around town, and you're going to have to add time onto your commute, or your daily commute's going to become very different. We'd expect to know exactly when council's talking about that, and be able to come to council to have our say. And this really is doing that. This is fundamentally changing the transportation network for a lot of people. Outside of policing, I have troubles thinking of a more important service that the city offers than getting people around the community. And so I think this is fundamentally different than most things we talk about. And I think it is worth slowing it down for 2 weeks, especially because we're not implementing this for months anyways. So I don't think it's going to put a significant bottleneck in the time, but I think it is when it's a service this important. I think it's vital that people know exactly when council's going to be talking about it.
Thanks for your close. So we'll hop over to East Scribe. Mayor Clayton, how do you vote?
In favor.
And that carries. So thanks for that, Councillor Bressie. We'll move on to our next item on our agenda, please, and that is item 3.4, naming opportunities for the Downtown Event Center. And we'll have Jade Nyland please present this.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, committee. Thank you for your time. I'll try not to take too much of it. I just want to provide committee an update on the naming opportunity for the Downtown Event Center. So this is something we're very excited about and happy to report that after a thorough evaluation process guided by procurement, Ms. Biladou's department, and Ms. Ridgway, and careful consideration, we recommend that Bonnet's Energy Corporation be awarded the naming rights for the Downtown Event Center, formerly known as Revolution Place. Upon approval of the naming rights agreement, the Downtown Event Center will be renamed to Bonnet's Energy Center. So, led by President and CEO Murray Taves, Bonnet's has operated in the Peace region, coming up on 50 years in 2022, and is a proud supporter of the city of Grande Prairie. Next year, to celebrate 50 years of service, they wanted to make a substantial commitment to the city of Grande Prairie. The naming rights partnership between Bonnet's and the City Downtown Event Center is a perfect fit. Bonnet's is a huge supporter of the AJHL Grande Prairie Storm hockey team and will continue to ensure the success of the team into the future. This sponsorship exemplifies the company's commitment to the community and their passion for the sport of hockey. This would be a 10-year commitment with the opportunity to renew, and we're excited for what the next 10 years holds. The timing couldn't be better as we remain positive and look forward to reviving the facility post-pandemic and making Grande Prairie the entertainment destination of the North. We can't wait to welcome back guests to cheer on the Grande Prairie Storm and catch up with some of our smallest residents attending their first concerts with the best seats in the house from their dad's shoulders. So working closely with Bonnet's strategic communications, graphic design, and corporate web management here at the city, we've established a process to transition marketing, web, signage, and other applicable assets to the Bonnet's brand and are ready to move quickly on this. We're looking forward to working with our new naming partner upon the ratification of the formal agreement by Council. We're confident Bonnet's Energy is the best fit for the naming rights of the Downtown Event Centre, and our hopeful committee and Council will share our enthusiasm. So we received the approved agreement back from Bonnet's last week, and committee recommends Council award the naming rights opportunity for the Downtown Event Centre, formerly known as Revolution Place, to Bonnet's Energy Corp.
Okay, thank you for that. Thanks for the report. Any questions on the report? Councillor O'Toole.
Get wires going here. I was just wondering when the official turnover would be and the dedication.
We're hoping that, through the chair, we're hoping that would be September 1st.
Oh, soon. Thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Thiessen.
I have really no questions. I'm not sure if it's relevant for me to ask about the terms here in this setting here. I know it's 10-year terms, but like sort of what's coming back for the naming rights. I know Helen Rice used to say back in the day, you know, we build $1 million facilities and then we sell off the names for like tens of thousands of dollars. Did we get a good deal on this? I know Bonnet's is a great sponsor, and I'm really excited that they're not only supporters of the Storm, that they're a local Peace Region company, and that they're excited to be a part of the building and for 10 years. Did we get a good deal, or did we compromise anything here?
Through the chair. So administration consulted other municipalities and sponsorship leaders across Canada through this process, and it was determined that the proposed partnership is fair and on par with what other municipalities would be looking at.
In comparison to our old one, are we looking good? I guess 10 years over 6 is pretty good. So
through the chair, yes, absolutely.
Awesome. If there are no questions, Mr. Chair, I'd love to make the motion for this.
Sure, please go ahead, Councillor Thiessen, unless there is any other questions. I'll just ask Mayor Clayton, did you have any questions before we go to that?
No, I'm fine, thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. I would move that committee recommend Council award the naming rights opportunity for the Downtown Event Centre to Bonnet's Energy Corp with the terms and conditions described in the report.
Okay, thanks for that, Councillor Thiessen. Any discussion or debate on the motion? I'll just say that I think administration has done a really good job of working on this one. We have been privy a little bit, a couple times from council on a few opportunities, and it was nice to see we had more than one proponent step forward and that we had options. And so I know administration put a lot of thought into this option, and I think they're a great fit for the naming rights, and especially with our synergies with the Storm. So I'm full support of this one. Seeing no other hands go up, I guess we'll hop over to our e-scribe and please vote. Mayor Clayton, how do you vote?
In favor?
And that carries unanimously. So thank you for the reports and that. And we'll move on to our last item of business, our outstanding items list, please. And I guess we'll go back to Mr. Harvard for that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Currently, we just have one item on the outstanding items list. It's the regional handybus feasibility. And the item note basically was the committee directed administration to work with regional municipalities to examine the results of the regional handybus feasibility study and report back to committee with recommendations at a future meeting. We did have an update in April in terms of that we received some correspondence from the town of Wembley regarding some of the funding and the transit solutions. We are currently waiting for some information from Wembley as well. There may be some grant funding from the federal government for implementing rural transit initiatives in but not in a standard format. The feds are looking for out-of-the-box solutions. They're looking specifically for things like on-demand transit and things like that. We will be talking with all of our regional partners to see how we could best utilize the funding that they have. We're still waiting for details. The federal government has not provided the province with any details, so we're still waiting for that. But I know that there certainly is interest from both, a number of different communities and the county at looking at some options with regards to the funding and with using the potential on-demand services that the city is currently looking at as well. So I will be bringing a report back in September, giving an update as where we're at that point in time. Absolutely.
Okay. Thanks for that, Mr. Harvard. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll just look for somebody to entertain a motion to accept, please. Councillor Thiessen.
Thank you very much, Chair Platt. I would move that committee accept the outstanding items list as presented.
Thank you for that. So please hop on our e-scribe and vote. Mayor Clayton, how do you vote?
In favor?
Okay. And that carries unanimously. And with that, we'll close our community services meeting and we'll just take a quick pause here.